The mission of the Buckley Program is to promote intellectual diversity on Yale's campus, and we do this in a number of ways by hosting speaker events with guests like Dr. Ben Carson, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, Senator Ben Sasse, and various other guests. We also host a conference every year, seminars for Yale students, and we fund summer internships for Yale students as well. At present, we have over 220 student fellows, and that number is only growing.
Today, the Buckley Fellows really consist of students from every cross-section of campus, and that's something that not a lot of student organizations here can claim.
The Buckley program really fills a glaring void that Yale professors, Yale students, Yale alumni, they recognize that it's there, but they don't know exactly what to do about it. And so the Buckley program brings in the speakers that students want to hear, but they don't know that they don't know to ask for them. They bring in speakers that make them question their beliefs, that push them harder, to make them question not even just what they think they believe, but their very core principles that they came to Yale knowing were true.
Most faculty and students will sort of agree with each other and then smile and then nod and then say, well, how can we take this further, without really evaluating their core principles and also thinking about what assumptions they might be making and why other Americans may not agree with what they're doing. And so I think the Buckley program does a really great service to everyone on campus because it fills in where the Yale education has unfortunately come short.
College campuses can become real echo chambers for just one point of view. And that point of view, because it's shared by the majority, it becomes the loudest and it becomes the most dominant point of view. And people who don't share that point of view feel scared, or they feel they can kind of engage in that discourse. And I think what the Buckley program does is it provides, ironically, I guess, a safe space for people with alternative points of view, and actually, encourages students and challenges students to actually engage with points of view that aren't their own, that they don't share.
The Buckley program has made it acceptable to express support of free speech and defend alternate viewpoints. I would say that there's still a crisis of free speech, but I would say it's become much easier to defend things on the grounds of free speech due to the Buckley program.
I think without the Buckley program, there'd be a real lacuna in terms of the ideas we engage with. This is common to college campuses across the country. I think that most ideas on campus come from the left, and most speakers come from the left. And if you have everyone come from the left, you miss out on the really good ideas coming from the right. People like Reihan Salam, Yuval Levin, Charles Krauthammer, they have something to contribute, and it's important that they be heard for the sake of, not just for the sake of intellectual diversity, but because I think the best ideas come when we all hear all sides. Hearing one side creates stasis, and I think the Buckley program is sort of an agent against stasis on campus.
I came on campus right amidst the firestorm surrounding Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and I was extremely intrigued. I knew nothing about intellectual diversity on campus or conservatism from an academic perspective, so I was really excited to attend that event. And once I saw her speak, I was really blown away with her articulate perspectives, and even though many on campus didn't necessarily agree with her, I agreed with the mission of having an opportunity to hear what she had to say.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed getting to hear Dr. Yuval Levin speak this past spring. It was great to hear a very serious academic conservative, someone who wouldn't typically be invited to campus.
It's been really fulfilling to have broader, more incisive debates and conversations with liberals and conservatives, to question my own beliefs, and to go to events where the point isn't necessarily to come out agreeing or to win an argument. The point is just to understand a perspective and understand an argument.
When I was a freshman, I think conservative students were far less noticed on campus. Their ability to sort of speak freely and the ability to have conservative guests, sort of besides just in a corner where no one was looking at them, that didn't really, that was what the status quo was like in 2013. But now in 2016, I think in large part due to the Buckley program's efforts with the Ayaan Hirsi Ali event and with the protests of fall of 2015, the program has really made it so that intellectual diversity is sort of in the common parlance that students understand why it's important to have free speech.
I've also been to a variety of seminars with different speakers here on campus that the Buckley program has brought in. My favorite was Professor Felsenberg's seminar about the life of William F. Buckley Jr. And that's where I thought I really kind of connected with Buckley's mission and his legacy.
So through the Buckley program, I've participated in fall and spring break seminars from topics ranging from the intellectual foundations of modern conservatism to the Federalist Papers to the most recent one on the ethics of capitalism. And I feel like they've contributed to my academic studies at Yale in a way that I haven't necessarily experienced in my other coursework.
My favorite event was in the spring of my freshman year with Christina Huff Summers. She did a really great job of conveying a different perspective on feminism, which I had never really explored and I ended up subsequently agreeing with. And I think having voices that kind of counter the narrative of traditional thought on campus is extremely important.
And I think that ability to feel the pulse and almost foreshadow what's going to come is really quite incredible. So right before the protests of last year, the Buckley program had a conference on free speech. Right before the 2016 election, we had a conference on the future of the party system. And I think that ability to really sense what's going on and what students are or not talking about is why the Buckley program is really so great.
One of my more recent favorite experiences here at Yale was the Ben Carson event. We had hundreds of people show up. We had to turn away hundreds of people. It was one of our biggest events that we've ever put on. And I was lucky enough to pick him up at his hotel. Before the event, I had a one-on-one conversation with Ben Carson, which adds to Carly Fiorina, who I've spoken with through the Buckley program. So that's two former presidential candidates that I've been able to speak with. The Carson event really has illustrated that if someone comes to speak at Yale, there will be an audience that wants to hear them, that wants to engage with them.
In just 1 year, we launched a disinvitation dinner. We began essay contests for Yale students, but also for high school students. We started doing more seminars over vacations and breaks. And all of these programs, when we put them out there, the demand is there.
Due to the Buckley program's free speech advocacy, several of my liberal friends have expressed interest in attending Buckley program events and even becoming fellows.
My internships 2 summers running have been through the Buckley program. After my freshman year, I worked with Obik Roy at Forbes, funded by the Buckley program. And then after my sophomore year, I worked at National Review. I think the internship at National Review was really a huge moment in my life. That was something that I felt extremely privileged to do, and which was, especially last summer, was a great time to be there.
Also through the Buckley program, I had the opportunity to work as an editorial intern at the new Criterion magazine in New York City this summer, and that was an incredible opportunity.
I think the Buckley program kind of masks the terrible state of free expression on Yale's campus by providing an outlet. So we bring in the speakers, we let students voice their opinions, but we do all the work. I think that Yale should share some of the burden in bringing these speakers to campus. And I think the Buckley program, we do a service to the community, but it's one that's not often recognized, and Yale can point to us as providing their intellectual diversity when really they should do a better job themselves.
And watching how Buckley really became, I guess, the guardian of the principles of free speech and intellectual diversity, when actually the administration seemed to wobble and a lot of student bodies seemed to wobble. Buckley was the kind of last bastion of strength on that issue.
There's a certain respect for Buckley that people have on campus, regardless of political leaning, and I think a lot of that has to do with the Buckley program, sort of keeping his memory alive, making sure that sort of his memory doesn't perish.
The influence of the Buckley program on Yale's campus would not be possible without the generous support of many alumni and just supporters out there.
Our campus is a much richer and diverse place because of your support than it would be otherwise. And frankly, we're beginning to surpass a number of peer universities in this respect. We actually have students here who will say, the Buckley program is one of the reasons I wanted to come to Yale.
The Buckley program has been a highlight of my Yale experience. I'll tell everyone from a new potential fellow to a speaker, such as Ayan Hirsi Ali or Ben Shapiro, to all our great donors and supporters, whether it's at a dinner, at a reception, whether it's just walking through the streets of New York and someone recognizing my Buckley pin, that the Buckley program does an immeasurable good to Yale's campus. And I want to thank each and every supporter, no matter how big or how small, for your support for the Buckley program.